Hey, what's going on everyone? Hawks21 here, back with another Splinterlands video. So we have a recent announcement of a new promo card, Zyriel. And this is a very special promo card that is bringing something brand new to the game, something we have never seen before. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the price point, which has been a big topic of conversation, and we'll talk about how good I think the card is. It'll be a fun video talking about this new card. Again, there's a brand new dynamic that, I think they're testing something out that we could be seeing in the more and more of in the very near future. But before we get into that, just a reminder, I am Hawks21 and I cover Splinterlands here on the channel. If you are new, it would be awesome if you could take a second to subscribe to the channel. I would love to welcome you to the YouTube community. As we push a little bit closer to 2,000 subscribers, I'll start talking about more what that giveaway is going to be. And it'll be a big one. Whenever I hit those big round numbers, you guys know I like to do big giveaways. So help me push towards that number, like and subscribe. Okay, let's get into it. So we go to the shop page. Promo will be the first one. And you see Zyriel. Her artwork is pretty crazy. As you can see right here, life and death. So if you click learn more, that'll bring you to this Peak D page introducing Zyriel, the first multi-element Splinterlands card. Yes, this card is both a life and a death monster. So how it works is if you pick a death summoner, you'll be able to play Zyriel. It's a range monster, so obviously assuming that there's a rule set that doesn't exclude ranged monsters, or I don't know if it's odd or even, but assuming there's no other limiting factors, if you pick a death summoner, you'll be able to play Zyriel. If you pick a life summoner, you'll also be able to play Zyriel. Not only that, if you play a neutral summoner, so for now it's just Lux. If you play Lux and you pick life or death as your main splinter alongside Lux, you'll be able to play Zyriel. Same with Dragon. If you pick a Dragon with life or death as your other splinter, you'll be able to play Zyriel. So a brand new component, brand new aspect that's coming to the game. It's going to change a lot of things. So it'll be very fun to test this out and see how it works. So I'm not going to do all this, but are we going pricing right now? No, we're not going to talk about pricing yet. But basically, each card you get will be a 4% chance of a gold foil version. That's per usual. And then for every 25 you get, you are guaranteed a gold foil version. So one of the questions was, is this going to be just max cards? Because they've done that with promos before, where the cards can only be bought in max value, at max level. Not this one. This one will be purchased per BCX. And let's talk about the stats before we get into the pricing. So it's a legendary, as you probably expect. You can see the new artwork set up here. Death on one side, life on the other. You see it sort of straddling. One question people had was, were these abilities only for life because they're on the life side, or death because they're on the death side? No. These abilities are for the card regardless of the splinter you play it with. So right from the jump here, 3 archery with weapons training and life leech. Makes sense, life and death card that it's going to get life leech. I honestly like this card at level 1. I do, I really do. I think it's a very good sort of bronze silver card. It brings a lot to the table. It is 7 mana, so it's definitely expensive, but I kind of like it at the lower levels. As you move up, I don't think it gets, crazy strong. Again, for me, this is kind of like a reverse speed card. That's probably when I'm going to play it. The weapons training does some cool stuff, right? Especially with the 5 range damage, because I believe that means you'll be giving 3 to any card you're next to, any non-attack card you're next to. So 3 is a significant amount of range damage. But when I talk about my full opinion of the card at the end, I'll say why, that might not be as good as it initially seems. Divine Shield, fine ability. It's got low health, so you're worried about opportunity attacks. So, the fact that it can eat one of those attacks. And Rust is fantastic. The card's fine overall. The cool thing here is the 2 elements. And I also say, I'm not surprised that they didn't make a crazy overpowered card for the first time they were doing the 2 elements, right? They're testing this out. They want to see how this works. They don't want to put a card into the game that's so incredibly powerful and then realize there's something wrong with the 2 element system, right? That, it's not a good idea to do 2 elements, or there's some things they need to tweak before they can do 2 elements. And if they put in this super powerful card on top of the 2 element thing that maybe is a little broken at first or needs some adjusting, that can create some problems. So I am not surprised that this card isn't super OP. Now, let's talk about price. So you're going to want to maximize your vouchers. So basically it's 80,000 DEC in credits. You can use 160 vouchers to get a discount of 40k DEC. So you'll want to do that. And basically what this comes out to is somewhere between, I think as of now, current prices, it's about $50, maybe a little higher than $50 per BCX. So that is very not cheap. And that's gotten some complaints from people. This is kind of like a whale promo, I guess, right? I will say, that puts a max card at somewhere between $500 and $600 as it currently stands. I'm not paying that much for this card. Yesterday I put out a video where I bought an Almo for 200 something, right? It was like 25 per BCX. So, probably like $300, 275 or whatever it was. There's much better uses of my funds, at least in my opinion, from a powerful card perspective or getting better card perspective, that at this price point doesn't interest me that much. If the price comes down in a week or a month or whatever it is, then sure. I don't expect that to happen, to be honest, because I think there'll be a novelty value of the first dual splinter card. But for me, this just isn't worth the price. Now, in terms of, or should people be mad at Splinterlands for the pricing? No, absolutely not. We've gotten some more, I would say, we've gotten some lower price promos recently, right? Archimist the Bear wasn't that bad. We had Vruz recently, not bad at all either. That obviously had a staked SPS component. But the price to actually get the Vruz was very cheap. So they've done some cheap stuff, right? You have to keep that in mind. They got to do stuff that's high priced because they also have to make money, right? The company needs to make money. They have to do some high priced stuff. And as long as they're sprinkling in some of that lower priced stuff, there's going to be some sort of balance. And to me, this is just the other side of that balance, right? We got Vruz, we got Archimist the Bear, which were 2 very obtainable cards. And now we get a less obtainable card, one that's even out of my price range at this point. So I'm not mad about that. That's sort of just how it goes. You don't have to buy everything. Not everything's going to be for you. And this is one of those cases for me. So I'm going to stay away, but I obviously got to bring you the content. I'm not a big lore person, so I can, you can come here and read this on your own time. Okay. That was sort of the overview. Let's get into the nitty gritty. And in order to get into the nitty gritty, we need to go to Splinter Guide. Yes, that's right. I showed you this website in my last video when I bought the Almo Cambio. This, if you don't know, because it's still new, this is a website that Brave Tofu and I have created. It's a strategy-based site. We're still building it out. One of the main things here we have is a card rating system. And the cool thing with the way we have it set up is when a new card gets added to the game, these ratings are going to calculate automatically. And so that's what we see right here. If we go to, I'm just going to type in weapon. So one thing you can do here is search for abilities. So I'm going to type in weapons training, and you can see Zyriel here at the bottom. So we're going to open a new tab. Obviously we haven't input any information here. The pictures aren't loaded up into the site yet, so those aren't pulling in, but once they're loaded in, they'll automatically pull in. We haven't typed up anything yet. That'll be coming. We sort of want to wait to see how the dust settles. But some stuff does auto-populate based on the statistics. So, Zyriel has Rust, which makes it useful in the Armored Up rule set to take away that Rust. It's going the distance, right? It's a good card here because it has Rust, and it also has a high range damage, right? So both of those combined makes it a pretty good use case in this. There's a pretty good all-range team in Death already, and this can be helpful. Close range, it's actually super powerful because any no-attack monster it's giving range to, if they slip into the first position, they can continue to attack. Reverse speed, just because it has 2 speed. Some of this stuff fills out. So, you could come here, look at some of these rule sets and say like, you know what, I really do need some reverse speed monsters. Here's a good opportunity. Then maybe in this case, it's worth it for you to grab, a copy or two. So stay tuned for this. This will fill out as Splinterlands sort of updates more information. But let's look at the grades. And as you can see, it's not graded very highly. A couple reasons for that. Again, it is slow. 2 speed is tough. Reverse speed is only 1 rule set. So, 2 speed is hard. Health is low. Not a lot of great health. And honestly, the ability mix, I like Rust. Rust works really well with weapons training if you're giving out a lot of range damage. But, it's not like an overpowered card. And in general, the reason why I typed in weapons training, as you can see, outside of Kulu Mastermind, which even that, it dips below a 7 at the highest level. Outside of Kulu Mastermind, weapons training cards aren't loved by our algorithm. Now, this is one of those cases, maybe we're a little off, right? Maybe we're underrating weapons training. But for us, weapons training has a big problem. And that's part of the reason why these cards get, a pretty low grade. And Zyriel is actually one of the higher ones here, but still, 5.6 leaves a lot to be desired. This is out of a 10 scale. Before I talk about the next part of why sort of weapons training is rated so low, the fact that this is dual splinter is accounted for in the algorithm. So we have something for neutral, we have something for dragon, and we put in something for dual splinter. So before anyone says like, oh, you're underestimating the fact that it can be played with, multiple splinters, no, that is accounted for in this rating. It's honestly probably a big part of the reason why it's up above, some of these down here, because, honestly, I don't really see a huge difference between a lot of these cards here. One cool thing I'll say before we move on is Ave Sturgis and Skok Dustblight, the 2 weapons training monsters for life and death respectively, they're both magic. So as you can see here, they both have 3 magic at the highest level. You can then combine these 2, Zyriel with one of these 2, and any monster that's in between the 2 is actually going to get a ranged attack and a magic attack. So imagine like a Riftwing that has both a ranged and a magic attack. So that's a synergy that if I was going to say might be underrated by our algorithm, it's probably that. We haven't worked in any account for that at all, mainly because I haven't even seen it in action yet. So I'd be very curious what that looks like and how it works. But that would be sort of my one counterpoint potentially to how low we have weapons training rated right now. But let's talk about weapons training for a second and why we have it rated so low. So we're actually going to go over to peak monsters for a second. And we're going to look at no attack, life, death, dragon, and neutral. Okay, so a lot of the no attack cards are support cards that provide a very specific use, right? You have to remember, a card is given its value through a bunch of factors, through its speed, through its attack, through its health, through its abilities, etc., and through its mana, right? If something has 12 mana count, you expect it to have more of those things, right? If something has a 1 mana count, you expect it to have less of those things. A lot of the cards that have no attack, they are valuable for their support abilities, whether it be heal, whether it be protect, whether it be cleanse. And a lot of them are ongoing things, right? There's something that happens every turn. Again, it's a heal, it's a triage, it's a repair. And you want those cards, or it's a cleanse, and you want those cards to stay alive. And for the most part, they can. Now, the one downside to weapons training, and it's a pretty big downside, and it's part of the reason why I think our algorithm has weapons training cards rated so low, is that you then need to worry about return fire. You need to worry about thorns. You need to worry about magic reflect, those plus amplify. And all of a sudden, one of your big support cards, like a truth speaker, which has protect, cleanse, and tank heal, a card you're counting on to stay alive to heal your shield bearer, right, is now taking return fire damage because of weapons training. Mondroid and I actually had a little conversation on Twitter about that recently. And it's a really, really, really great point. Now, there's going to be some cards that, it matters a little less for, right? Or Riftwing is one for me where I don't really mind if Riftwing's attacking from the back line, right? Because his whole point is to eventually get to the front line, and you're kind of just playing a waiting game with him for the most part. So if I can get 3 range damage firing from the back, there's a chance I can get a kill, scavenge up some health, while I'm also, obviously taking potentially return fire damage. It still might be worth it. But, a combination I thought of was sticking it between Truth Speaker and Angel of Light. Angel of Light's a very important card that I want to keep alive because of the Inspire, the Tank Heal, and the Resurrect. If all of a sudden Angel of Light is taking return fire damage, then the attack actually hurts my strategy. So that's what can make weapons training a bit tricky, is a lot of the cards you're giving an attack to might be better off without one, right? It might be riskier to give it an attack versus letting it do its thing as a support card. A perfect example of that right now is the River Nymph for water, right? So if we come back here and we go to the River Nymph, its big use here is the cleanse. So I like to play this card with Bakjira. I don't have a Kelp Initiate, although I really need to pick up a Kelp Initiate. It's definitely on my short list because that would solve this problem. One of my least favorite things about the River Nymph is the fact that it has a magic attack with low health. If it comes up against a Zenith Monk, it comes up against an Alma, whatever it is, anything with magic reflect, I'm losing that cleanse. And in reality, I'm bringing it for the cleanse. I'm not bringing it because of its 2 magic damage for the most part. I'm doing it because I want it to cleanse my Bakjira. So there are times when you'd prefer a card wouldn't have an attack. And I think that's the main reason why our algorithm currently punishes weapons training. Some of it is we haven't seen it fully, we haven't seen the full strategies surrounding weapons training. So the cool thing about the algorithm is that we can adjust it, right? As stuff pops up, new weapons training strategies come out, new cards come out that work well with weapons training, and we can reevaluate and adjust things. So, these ratings are dynamic. These aren't a static thing. We can tinker with these as we go. But for now, Zyriel, a little disappointing from a quality standpoint. To me, it's definitely not worth the price standpoint, but you need to make that decision for yourself. I'm going to stop it there. I hope you guys enjoyed Zyriel. Regardless of what you think of the card, very exciting time. We have something new, a dual splinter, a dual element monster. you know, probably won't be the last, but we'll see. So I'm going to stop it there. Check out Splinter Guide. It's a great strategy site. You know, we'll be uploading new things, you know, by the week. Very excited to build this out. Link will be in the description of the video. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. You know, we love feedback on this type of stuff. So curious to hear what you guys think. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will talk to you guys soon.